Hey, welcome to Happy Little Note Trees and the Banana Lounge. Now, this video is going to be about color grading AI footage or clips or stills or whatever you want to have it. And these are from Nano Banana. I went on and tested it and said, give me a car full of bananas, and this is what it gave me. I then followed up the request to it and said, redo that and make it be an Arri wide gamut, Arri log C3. And then I said, well, now I want it in Sony Cine log and gamut. And so it gave me this. I did the same thing here. I said, give me a nighttime lounge scene. This is after I ran out of money. These aren't video clips from the Banana Lounge, but they're just still photos because I'm poor and I didn't pay for AI to have taken my money. But then I also asked it to give me it in Arri wide gamut, which this was surprising how much the color of the neon sign changed when it cut back to log. Like, it feels like it's going to be completely different between what it rendered out there. So one of the first things I'm going to do before we get into, say, color grading any of this is I want to take this is the rendered version, and you can see that there is, if you look at our scopes or anything like that, like we're sitting up way above, we're hitting blacks pretty flat, and we're way above, and everything like that. So the question is, how do we treat this footage? How do we understand it in terms of how it's rendering and showing up on our scopes, how it's showing up on our screen, and everything that we want to do with that. So one of the things that I wanted to do right out of the gate was just drop a CST on it. And I told it I wanted Arri wide gamut 3, Arri log C3 as my input. Color space, let's set this up, and we're going to say it's an sRGB, I'd assume. I mean, I don't know what, I'm guessing. I did a short film a while back, and so this would be saying, you can see that this is slightly different, has a little bit more contrast. Maybe it is Rec 709? I didn't specify when I made the original image. And Gamma 2.4, maybe, let's see here. Let's just put it at Gamma 2.4 and see, outside of a brightness issue, no. Wide point adaptation, none. Shouldn't have to be tone mapped. We're just saying invert from Rec 709, which is what you gave me, back to the thing that I requested. I'm going to try these other ones. These are even darker. And so what we're getting is something that is somewhat reasonable. This one is brighter, obviously, has its white point. We're camping down in this inversion. That ain't right. And so what is going on? Why is it maybe 2.6? No. But then we tried sRGB. That wasn't it. 2020. That gives us a little bit more. But just trying to understand a little bit of what's going on with this. So it gave me would look like a finished image that had issues in and of itself, if we're being honest. Could we say it's light? No. And here we are. Let's just go with Rec 709 Gamma. Just say it's our starting point. This is seemingly similar. There is just a brightness difference to how it is. And then we'll take this to the banana and we'll copy this grade over because this should be the same. But you can see way different in terms of how it rendered out the neon sign and terms of color and vivacity when I asked for it in area wide gamut log C3.4. So that would be then saying, we're saying this was, we apply this, we're going to rotate this and swap it, and that is what we'd be getting if we did no tone mapping whatsoever. Luminance mapping, not bad. And we can turn this off and see how close these two hit. And this one is a little bit more saturated. But I mean, that comes down to the question of how are we getting out to display and all of that. So what I would do, and this would be Sony S-Log, so we would just copy this grade over, and I had asked for it to be in Sony S-Log S-Gamut 3 Cine, and what else did I, S-Log, yes. Where is that in here? S-Log 3. And going out, we're using luminance mapping. Maybe we just go with Davinci, and that completely changes how our bananas look. If we do Davinci, we get yellow bananas. So between these three clips, so this is what it gave me right out of the gate, and then we're going to go next clip. And so this is putting in Rec 709 straight with Davinci tone mapping and a CST. Contrast is a little bit different, a bit more saturated in the greens, and some of the colors. This one is way more saturated, saying from that it was Cine Gamut. So what we're seeing here between these two, there's a huge difference, even though I asked for it to be in a particular gamut. And then the same thing we could do when we're looking at this. We'll just go copy this, apply the grade, and we're going to flip this and put this at Davinci for now. And you can see the difference is I asked for blue neon, and when I asked for it to put it in area wide, I am not getting blue neon, I am getting straight cyan. And it kept that flow, it looks like, with this one. If we switch this to S-Log Cine, which is what I asked for in my questioning of it. S-Log 3. And there is our image. So, man, it is fat. But I mean, that's also partly because our DRT technically in this point is just a CST from Resolve, and anyone that knows me, that's not good. We're not going to use that. So even if it's like that, we could change this up and go, let's just put it, and this is if you're color grading AI footage or clips, you're going to want to put it in an intermediate space. This is just general practice. It doesn't, whether it came from an AI generated source or not, you're going to want to put it in Davinci White Gamut, none of that. And let's just see, let's go with our outs, and we're going to pull in OpenDRT. Can I just bring that? Oopsie daisy. Oh, why is my OpenDRT? That's probably because I haven't updated that in a while. We're just going to go grab it from here and drop it in and clean up our node graph a little bit. And so OpenDRT here is looking for our Davinci White Gamut, Davinci White Intermediate, going out to Rec 709. And it is giving us a little bit of a cleaner image coming through. And we'll do the same. We'll just update all of these real quick. And this is going to be back to area wide 3, area log C3. You can see that this is just using OpenDRT, and we'll just copy this grade over and write like this. And so we have Rec 709 is what we're saying this is, and we're going to say it's Gamut 2.4, and these are our three clips coming out. This one is actually not too shabby in terms of if you turn these off, the difference in rendering is subtle. The sharpness on the brightness is a little bit hotter on the neon sign in the original image versus inverting it and going back out through OpenDRT. And then this one is obviously way, way, way sharp and everything like that. We're going to come over and do the same thing for these and just apply the grade. And this should all already be correct based on what we're pitching. And we'll apply here as well. And you can see what we're doing here. No tree. So this is the original. OpenDRT is a little bit softer in terms of how it's looking. And so our question is now, these are all using the same input. We're saying it's from a different color space because we asked Nano Banana to give us a different color space for these three images, but we can clearly see they are considerably different, and so it's a matter of what you want and how you want to go. We are using OpenDRT, so I mean, like, workflow wise, there's really, I mean, what you're doing is going from whatever you think it is to whatever you think it is to a unified working space that works for you. And so this one I'd probably switch to linear, and this is where I'd make any brightness, contrast adjustments. Maybe I'll bring this down a little bit, kind of steer this around and adjust the contrast just using lift, gamma, and gain in linear. And we'd be looking at this and going, well, we need to do somewhat of the same thing here. So we'll just copy that node over to here, paste, and so you can see what is that resetting? So that's like that. And on this one, we're just gonna have to steer it around, and you're gonna have to just do what you normally would do in terms of color matching. The thing is, you're watching, we're hitting way on that saturation. It's just pushing out on the wall. It'd almost be worth going and grabbing normally use, which would be mononodes, set, this one, and then pulling in our red set, our red and yellow set a little bit, because they are, but not too much, like that is, and then bringing down making an adjustment to our shot there, trying to get things in the same vein. But yeah, that one is surprisingly better. What if we did that? What if we said it was Arri? What if it has lied? And that's not bad. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I would say workflow-wise, when I did the short film that used, where I did do, where I worked on footage. The thing is, like, trying to figure out what is, if they give you the footage like this in a finished format, how am I going to make it match to other things? That's always the challenge. Having a solid DRT weighted display that's consistent across all of your things, very important. We'll just come, but like even like this is hard. I mean, like, we're gonna have to slam this around a bit. I mean, and do a huge hue rotation to try to even get this, I mean, this is one of the concerns like I have with like how much work is going into asking it to match the color. And I know I didn't pay for it to match colors for me. I figured that's my job, I guess. So that's getting close to the same range. It's still a little bright. Maybe we can tweak that. Bring it up a little bit. That's getting close to previous frame, but still not as soft. That one's a bit closer, but also quite slightly different. And you can see that. Even if, yeah, it did make a change to it, but not in the best possible way. So, if you came here and you are sitting on AI footage, the way I grade is the same way I approach any type of footage that's coming in. I'm going to go from what I think it is, which could be anything. It didn't really tell me what its color space was, and I'm going to, you could maybe assume it's sRGB. In fact, yeah, it's slightly nominally better to say it's sRGB. Put it into your working space that you like to use, that your tools respond to, and then have a good method for getting out to display, which here we're using OpenDRT. We obviously could go pull any of my DRTs in, so this would be Photochemist here, and that's completely different rendering from what you'd be getting, which isn't bad. I mean, that feels kind of old. Whoa, wrong button. Kind of vintagey there. Kind of like how that looks, actually. What if we did that to? And this is on the original finished footage. Let's apply that grade. That's just using the balance modern preset. Yeah. I'm gonna give it some spectral sharpening. Kind of give it some midtone expansion. But yeah, you're just doing your normal everyday look dev to your image to get it to be what you want it to be. And then you're going to grade underneath it and do any of your shot level matching. But that is the same basic flow. I don't know why you would try to go. The thing is, it's going to be tricky, and I think the nuances, like you can see here, I barely asked a different question, and now I'm chasing an entirely different color hue to the issue. And I know this has already been switched to Photochemist. We can copy that over. Just paste that on here. And now you can see the two, we're still not getting the same quality of glow. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how AI develops its understanding. From what I understand, it isn't trained on like footage from a camera. It's trained on Rec 709. But yeah, this is playing around with color grading Nano Banana stills and trying to understand what are the challenges. But at the end of the day, right now, it's the same, thinking through the same methodology of watching it, our setup, get to a unified working space, color grade in linear for your shot matching and balancing, and have a solid way of getting out to display. Let's see what Genesis does here. This is that. Maybe. Just go do that too. Maybe. Seeing what different things do. Trialing different things out. That's what you got to do. That does not look like film though. That looks very glossy compared to how that renders with photo cameras. But that's just me and my preferences. Anyways, until next time, hopefully you enjoyed this little video. I know I did. And it's a pleasure when you all leave comments and tell me how much you like just me talking about things. But until next time, have a happy little no tree day.